So welcome to this video. My name is Alex, and this video is all about the very serious Antichrist agenda, which essentially revolves around Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson is one of the most popular men in the world. He's got 220 million followers on Instagram. Only Cristiano Ronaldo has more, with 266 million followers. And Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson's fans love him, and he seems like the nicest, most compassionate, caring man in the world. He seems like a man of the people, a leader, a man who cares about everybody. However, being an actor, I can assure you that his performance of compassion and love and concern for his people, which he calls my people, is all an act, because he is very much involved in the satanic agenda to lead people away from true peace, lead them away from love, and lead them away from God. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson is a man of war, and you can see this if you watch his posts carefully. Listen to the language he uses. Look at that tattoo on his arm. And in fact, if you look at the video, which I've linked in the description, in which I've put all the evidence which shows that he is the Antichrist. And of course, there'll be plenty of people who disagree with me, which I totally respect. But having studied him very, very closely for several years, there's no doubt at all that he is the Antichrist. And people say, well, surely it's a politician, surely it's Emmanuel Macron or Barack Obama. But you have to understand that the Antichrist is going to be someone who nearly everyone adores, a man of the people, a man who people think really genuinely cares. But inside he will have a black heart. Inside he will be part of the satanic agenda and have a satanic mission. And so he will have to be an actor. He will have to be an actor. If he's got a dark heart, yet he's persuading the world that he's a man of love, a man of peace, a man of compassion, then he has to be an actor, a very good actor, to persuade people that he is something other than he truly is. And also, he has to be universally popular, because the Antichrist agenda is to basically gather everyone who loves peace, who loves goodness, who loves kindness, gather them all under one umbrella. A man and this will be done by a man who's so convincing that he could even deceive the elect. And of course that's what it says in the Bible. And the elect means followers of God, lovers of God, Christians, maybe even Jews, I'm not quite sure. But the elect is people who are looking out for the Antichrist, people who are wary of the Antichrist agenda. And this man will be so convincing that he could even deceive the elect. So it can't be someone like Macron or Trump or Tony Blair or Barack Obama, because they're not universally liked. A lot of people dislike them. But Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson is universally liked. Just go to his Instagram profile and look at the comments. And there's millions and millions of comments on all his videos saying, "You're the man, Dwayne, we love you, you're the best, run for president," etc., etc. And Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson will run for president, I guarantee you. And he might be sitting in that chair a lot sooner than people expect. You may have seen him interview Kamala Harris and Joe Biden just before the election. And then several months before, he interviewed Gavin Newsom, the governor of California. And he did that on Good Friday, by the way. So he's just positioning himself in the political sphere, letting everyone know that he's getting involved. He cares about the nation. He's willing to step forward when called. Now, many people are looking into the future in several years, but things are happening very quickly now. And I would not be surprised if Barack Obama is in the White House. Sorry, not Barack Obama. I would not be surprised if Dwayne Johnson is in the White House by the end of 2021. Why do I say that? Because, as I said, things are moving very quickly, and the agenda is going to kind of rapidly snowball. The agenda to essentially steer people into these warring factions. One party, the extreme left, against the conservative right. Now, you're seeing all these posts on YouTube about Joe Biden's not fully fully compos mentis. He's making all these mistakes, and he seems to have, memory problems, and he's always forgetting what he's going to say. And so people are wondering, is this man really going to last for very long? Because he's running the country, but he seems to have this poor mental capacity. So people are wondering, wouldn't it be better to have someone who's a bit younger, someone who's a bit more kind of savvy and kind of sharp? And so do not be surprised if somewhere during the year Joe Biden has some kind of mental breakdown, not in terms of a crisis, but seems to be unfit for the role of president. And who do you think will leap forward to save the day? Do not be surprised if it's Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. Now, I'm warning you this because I know what the agenda is, and I know how Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson is the leader for this big army, this, how could you say, this extremist politically correct army. And the Antichrist agenda, you have to understand, is anti-Christian. Because the Satanists want to get rid of the Christians. Because the Satanists want a world of basically complete carnal indulgence where anything's allowed, like a pervert's paradise. That's what the Satanists want for this world. And they want to basically lock up all the people, imprison all the people who don't agree with their agenda, which of course communism is a big step towards. So they want to get rid of the Christians because the Christians are the ones who are standing in their way. The Christians are the ones who believe that morals and boundaries are important, how there are things you just simply do not do, and it's very important that people are treated in a certain way, and that there are certain, like I say, moral boundaries which you do not cross. But the Satanists don't care about moral boundaries. They just do whatever they feel fulfills their carnal pleasures, their desires of the flesh. And so the Satanists want the Christians out of the way. So this is the Antichrist agenda. The Antichrist, his agenda is to turn everyone against the Christians. It's really important to understand this. So he has to build an anti-Christian army. Well, that's happening right now. Through the media, the young people are being kind of gathered up into this politically correct worldview where everything's okay, everything is tolerated in terms of your life choices, and all the ones who don't tolerate that, all the ones who are the people who are the enemy of tolerance, the enemy of inclusivity, the racists, the white supremacists, it's all the Christians. And you're going to see this more and more, that you're going to see the Christians painted as the bad guys. The Christians are the ones who think homosexuality is a sin. The Christians are the ones who are the capitalists, the right-wing capitalists who are destroying the planet with their love of fossil fuels. The capitalist Christians are the bad guys. And wouldn't society just be wonderful? Wouldn't we be able to have this wonderful, peaceful planet without that old stuffy religion of Christianity telling you what you should and shouldn't do? Wouldn't that be great? Wouldn't life on earth be peaceful? And wouldn't we all thrive if we could just get rid of those stuffy, old-fashioned Christians? This is the message that the satanic agenda is flooding the youth with at the moment. And the reason it's flooding the young people is because it can indoctrinate the young people. It can't. This agenda cannot indoctrinate the older people because they know already what's right and wrong, and they know what they think. But the younger people are being indoctrinated with this extremist left ideology that it's a politically correct ideology, and so it tells them all the things which are acceptable, and that people who believe in all those things, they're on their side. They're the good guys. All the people who believe in the politically correct agenda are the good guys. And anyone who's on the opposite side of the fence, well, they're the enemy. They're the bad guys. And so what Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson's going to do is he's going to be speaking to his people, speaking to his army, and kind of stirring up this anger, this animosity towards all those kind of controlling Christians, all those Christians who want to tell you what you should do with your body, and all those Christians who believe you should go to hell because you're a homosexual, on all those things. This is how this anti-Christian army is being generated. Because of course, the LGBTQ movement is growing and growing and growing with more publicity than it's ever had. And now the media is actually encouraging it in the young people. The media and the education system is actually encouraging children to consider that they might be a different gender than they actually are, and encourage them to consider that they might want to change their sexuality. And so it's not just a case of tolerance and allowing people to be how they want to be, but it's actually what the media is doing is encouraging, kind of promoting the LGBTQ movement as more desirable than just being normal, or just being normal, so to speak. Just being the gender you are, just being the sexuality you are. That's promoted as being boring, almost old-fashioned. And that the new way, which is kind of cool, it's the way of the future, is to be kind of non-gender, not to have a gender. Gender is so old-fashioned. Just be the gender you feel, be the sexuality you feel. Don't commit to a gender or a sexuality. Just be kind of loose. And this is what Satanism is all about. It's about being loose, blurring the lines between sexuality, between genders, so that perversion, so that abuse can more easily occur. The Satanists want a world where they can abuse everybody they want to abuse. And sexually, the Satanists tend to abuse children. So the satanic agenda is to almost create the perfect circumstances for the satanic religion to flourish. Lots of young people who think that Satanism is cool. Lots of young people who are kind of unsure about their gender, unsure about their sexuality, so they're kind of open. They're open to all these subtle ideas that the media is putting forward about paedophilia. You know, the idea is to even make paedophilia seem kind of acceptable, and that's what the Satanists want, because the Satanists love that kind of thing. They love abusing children, they love torturing people, they love generating this dark energy, which is, you could call, the satanic energy. They generate this dark energy through their practices, and their practices are specifically engineered to generate that dark pleasure. You could call it evil, and it's generated by doing all the things that they know are the worst things you can do: torturing children, sexually abusing children, eating human flesh. They generate this dark spiritual energy. And so Satanism is basically on a complete public relations mission now to sell itself to the world, and it's obviously doing that through the Satanic Temple, which is getting much, much more popular as time goes by. And they just released a film last year called Hail Satan. So the Satanic Temple are now becoming kind of cool, and of course they're promoting Satanism on Netflix through many different programs, but specifically this Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, which is all about Satanism, and it's very openly about the benefits of Satanism, how Satanism is really cool and liberating, and how the Christians are so restrictive and oppressive, and how they're the bad guys. Then you've got so many TV programs who the bad guys are the Christians. So you've got things like Hunters, which is with Al Pacino, in which the Christians are the white supremacists. And you've got The Handmaid's Tale, of course, the bad guys again are the Christians. And you've got The Watchmen on HBO, and again the bad guys are the Christians. And then you've got His Dark Materials, and again the bad guys are the kind of religious establishment, the Christians. And you've got The Hunger Games, and you've got there's so many, and it's so obvious. If you realize that this is the satanic agenda, when you realize what the satanic agenda is, you can see how the media is pushing it. So really I wanted to first explain the satanic agenda to you, which is to turn as many people as possible against the Christians. It's basically to do what Hitler did in Nazi Germany, to turn all the people against the Jews, while the satanic agenda is to turn as many people as possible against the Christians. And it's focusing on the young people, because the old people can't be indoctrinated that way, but the young people are being indoctrinated right now through the pop music industry, with Billie Eilish selling Satanism to young girls. And I'm talking about girls under 10. Billie Eilish is popular with all young people. You know, I've got 4 children, and some of their friends are listening to Billie Eilish, and they're 7 years old, 8 years old. Billie Eilish is promoting Satanism loud and clear, and there are so many other pop artists who are in the top 40, in the top 10, who are Satanists, and you can see it. You read the lyrics, they talk about selling their soul, they do the satanic hand symbols. They don't really even hide it anymore. So Satanism is being sold to the young people because it wants to create an army of people who hate the Christians and who have sympathy with Lucifer. And this is why Luciferianism is also being sold. And people are kind of getting sympathy for Lucifer. Like Billie Eilish's song, All the Good Girls Go to Hell. The first line is, "My Lucifer is lonely." Oh, poor Lucifer. I feel so sorry for him because he's lonely. This is the sentiment that song is trying to evoke. Trying to say, well, Lucifer, he's the good guy, but he's lonely. You know, the teachings of Madame Blavatsky and Alice Bailey, who were theosophists in the last century and the century before, is all about how Lucifer was a solar angel who was basically thrown out by God, and how Lucifer was really the true bearer of light and knowledge, and how God wanted to keep that light and knowledge from humanity. So the theosophists interpret the Garden of Eden story as God preventing Eve from being woken up. The serpent was trying to wake up. God wanted to keep Adam and Eve in the dark. He didn't want them to have knowledge. But the serpent was the good guy, the Satan. It was Satan, Lucifer, in the form of a snake, who wanted to bring knowledge and wisdom to Adam and Eve. And the oppressive God, who just wanted to control Adam and Eve, said, no, don't ignore the snake. But so this is the Luciferian beliefs of Helena Blavatsky and Alice Bailey, who, by the way, whose spirituality is part of the United Nations belief system. The United Nations is not just a political organization. They are a socialist political organization for sure. All the last 10 Secretary Generals have been socialists. The United Nations was founded by a guy called, what was his name now? Alger Hiss, and he was a convicted communist spy. The original United Nations Charter was co-authored by a Soviet communist called Andrei Vyshinsky, and essentially it's a socialist communist organization. And United Nations are not just socialist communist, they're Luciferian, because they use the spiritual teachings of Madame Blavatsky and Alice Bailey for their spirituality. They've got a meditation room, and their books are published by the Lucis Trust, which used to be called the Lucifer Publishing Company. And the Lucis Trust used to have its offices at 666 United Nations Plaza. It's when you look at the evidence, and I'll put a video in the description showing you all the evidence about the United Nations. You look at the evidence, it's plain as day. The United Nations is a Luciferian organization. And they, as you may know, are the one world government who are deciding what happens in every country. They have the rule of international law, because every member country, which is nearly 200 I think, gave up their right of individual sovereignty of law in the, I think it was in the Paris Agreement. Was it in the Paris Agreement? Yes, I believe it was in the Paris Agreement. And they gave over sovereignty to the United Nations. So the United Nations make the law for all the member nations, which is pretty much every country on the world. So the United Nations have a satanic socialist agenda. And guess what we're seeing in our society now, everywhere? A satanic socialist agenda. Well, the socialist agenda is very obvious, the communist agenda. You can see it unfolding now with the lockdowns and all the businesses closing and the government taking control of pretty much people's income and the means of production of so many things. The government are getting more control, and people are basically at the mercy of whether the government decide to give them money or not. So communism is now becoming a step closer for everybody, and the United Nations have not been very secretive about their desire to have global communism. But it's also now spreading the satanic message through the media, through kids' media, through Hollywood, through books, video games, I've made other videos about how this is happening, and I'll put some links in the description so you can watch all the videos I've made about this, because I go into great detail and I show you all the evidence so you can see it with your own eyes. Don't have just to believe what I'm saying, but I'll put all the evidence. I have put all the evidence in these videos, and you can see for yourself how the satanic agenda is unfolding. So the biggest concern is that the media is creating a satanic army in the young people. An army who believe that they are the ones who have to change the world, get rid of this old-fashioned way of doing things, which is the right-wing capitalist Christian way. Get rid of that, because that's destroying the planet. It's threatening to take away people's freedom. It's the problem with everything. That old Judeo-Christian way of running things is the problem. The new way is the way of extreme liberalism, where anything goes. You do what you want, you make up the rules, you decide what's right and wrong, and you just enjoy everything you want to enjoy. There is no right or wrong. And this is the most dangerous thing, because people are being shepherded without even realizing it. They're psychologically being shepherded to want certain things, to desire the things of the flesh. You can see this in the media. You can see that people are being encouraged to want things which are not the best things for them, to desire, just have sexual desires always on their mind, and to see women as basically a means to sexual gratification. Of course, that's been going on for a long time, but now it's becoming more and more intense for men, and women are being told that men are just kind of like a pain. Men should be got rid of. Men are the problem. Men have created this mess on this planet, and the women need to take over from the men. The women need to push the men aside, and essentially the ones who don't step aside, you've got to get rid of them. This is the kind of extreme feminist ideology that is also part of this extreme left satanic agenda, because the Satanists hate Christianity, and the Christianity is very much a religion of, you'd say it's run by men. It's kept alive by men, the Christian religion. So if you want to get rid of Christianity, you've got to go after the men. You've got to go after the kind of typical demographic who keeps Christianity alive. So you would say that's perhaps white Christian men, white men, and to a lesser extent, you see the African American community, but predominantly you would see Christianity as a white religion. Of course, that's not completely the case. But if you want to wipe out Christianity, then you really want to get rid of the men who are the strong proponents, the men who really keep the religion going. So that's why there's going to be this war on white men, and why there is this war on white men, because it's not about what it is about a spiritual battle. It's about Satanism getting rid of Christianity. And look in the media and look at my videos about this. You'll see that the media is thrusting Satanism into the minds of all people. In 2019, the Guardian newspaper published an article called "Are Satanists Now the Good Guys in the Fight Against the Evangelical Right?" So that's the Guardian newspaper in 2019 suggesting that Satanists are the good guys. And it wasn't a joke, it wasn't tongue-in-cheek, it was a very serious article suggesting that Satanism is the solution to the bad, evil Christians. And this is the attitude that they're trying to foist upon everybody, especially the young people, to get the young people thinking about all those bad Christians and all the things they've done, and how they're ruining our world, and how they're destroying the planet with their love of fossil fuels, and how they're controlling women, how they're so oppressive, blah, 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 blah. The idea is create the enemy, and then create the army who will destroy the enemy, because Satan wants to destroy Christianity. And so the army has to be created, and Dwayne Johnson is the leader of that army. The people don't know it yet, but he's putting out the right message. There's plenty of dog whistles. There's always been this stuff in the media for a long time about how all these dog whistles are going out. Donald Trump's putting out dog whistles, blah, blah, blah. But the dog whistles that are coming from the extreme left through the media are so blatant. Do you remember the film Suicide Squad? And near the end, is it her name Harley Quinn? She smashes the shop window, and in the shop window are these clothes, and they all have the same message: So this message is emblazoned over everything in the shop window. And the message is, "Se vis pacem, para bellum." That's Italian. "Se vis pacem, para bellum," which means, if you want peace, prepare for war. So this is a message young people are getting, that if you want a peaceful world, you've got to fight for it. And you see this message abundant in the left wing. It's the message is, you have to fight. You have to fight for your freedom. You have to fight the bad guys. You have to fight inequality. You have to fight for everything that you want. And of course, people are getting this message: fight, 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 because they are preparing people for a war. Now, I'm not a right-wing person. I'm not an extreme left-wing person. I'm a liberally minded person, but I also value, the moral framework of Christianity. But I wouldn't call myself a right-wing person, and I wouldn't say I'm extremely on the other side either, but I'm very liberal-minded. But I am quite sensible and conservative in my moralistic viewpoint. So I don't have an agenda with one side or the other. What I'm concerned with is that there is a war being created, a war being fueled, a very, very terrible and violent war being fueled by the media. So, as I said, in Suicide Squad there was this message, "Se vis pacem, para bellum." Well, what song was all over the world last year, top of the charts for a while, and you just heard it on all the radio stations, and apparently it was number one in 30 countries. 30 countries. It was this song called "Dance Monkey." I'm sure you've heard it. By this young teenage Australian girl from Byron Bay, and she was called Tones and I. But just out of nowhere, this song became number one in 30 countries. And it's not really an amazing song either. It's a bit of a weird song. But and so when that came to number one, I thought, okay, there's a reason, there's an agenda here. So I went to look at her album. And the name of her album is called "The Kids Are Coming." And there's a song called "The Kids Are Coming" on the album. It's the lead song. And the video for that song is a war video. It's all about how the kids are preparing to come and get you. The kids are soldiers, and it's like a war. It's like a war chant. The kids are coming. The kids are coming for you. And the album cover for "The Kids Are Coming" is exactly the same as the shop window in Suicide Squad. Where it said "Se vis pacem, para bellum," which means if you want peace, prepare for war. Well, the album cover for "The Kids Are Coming" was the artist, Tones and I, with this written all over her clothes. But on her clothes, it didn't see "Se vis pacem, para bellum," it said "The Kids Are Coming." So if you'd seen the Suicide Squad and you saw the album cover, you would see that these two are connected. And "The Kids Are Coming" is a war cry. It's a war rallying cry for this political army, politically indoctrinated left-wing army who are coming for the bad guys, for anyone who sympathizes with the bad guys, who are the Christians, they're the capitalists, the ones who are destroying the planet, they're the white supremacists, they're the racists. You'll notice this, or you may have noticed this, that more and more that white supremacy is being linked. The Christians are the white supremacists, the Christians are the racists, the Christians are the misogynists, the Christians are all the bad things. But if you know any Christians, if you know Christian people, you'll know that they're actually very peaceful people, because they modeled themselves on Jesus, and so they try and be like Jesus. And so there's nothing wrong about a group of people who try and be like Jesus. Of course, you've got lots of, I know of Christian people who are kind of overbearing and, Bible bashing, but overwhelmingly, the Christian people I know are very peace-loving, compassionate, caring people. I know Christians who've set up orphanages in countries for homeless children because they care. They care. And that's the message. The message of Christ was to care for everybody. So this idea that the Christians are the enemies, that they're the bad guys who want to take away your freedom and who want to destroy the planet and who are white supremacists and racists and sexists, that's propaganda. That's pure propaganda to create an enemy for this extreme left-wing army. the young people who are Satanists. They're overwhelmingly like a transgender, transsexual army, and so that's why they'll hate Christianity as well, because Christianity is apparently opposed to those things. So it's about, in any way possible, creating animosity in that group, that extreme left-wing group, animosity for the opposite side, and to polarize people. And essentially what the media is doing now, and especially social media, it's steering people into one camp. It's showing people the right videos on YouTube. The algorithms have been set up to steer people into one camp or the other. And it doesn't really matter. They don't care if you join the Satanists or if you join the Christians. What they want is they want a war. So ideally, they want you to be on the side of the aggressors. You know, they want all the young people. They don't want the young people becoming Christians. Absolutely not, because then they will not be warmongers. So they want young people to be angry, hateful, resentful, pointing the finger at all the bad guys who are the Christians. Another interesting thing that's happened, I do podcasts, and automatically they get uploaded via my podcast provider to my YouTube channel. So I just record a 10-minute podcast and I press publish, and it goes onto YouTube. Now my podcasts are, I've been a meditator for 22 years. So my podcasts are about inner peace, they're about the clarity in your mind, the peace in your heart, opening your mind to God. There's nothing political in them. There's nothing aggressive or angry in them. They're just about opening up to love and to God. I do talk about God. But every time I post one of my podcasts, I immediately get an email from YouTube, an automated email saying, your YouTube video has been age restricted. That means they deem my video unsuitable for people under the age of 18. So that just tells me they do not want people under the age of 18 hearing a message about God, hearing a message about forgiveness and peace, because that will hinder their ability to turn the young people into angry, God-hating warriors, because that's the agenda. And to be female-led as well. The idea is to have a female-led army. I think in Isaiah chapter 3, verse 12, it says, "As for my people, children are their oppressors and women are their rulers." And that's because the Antichrist agenda is targeting the girls and the women to make them angry with men. So the men are the problem, the men are the oppressors, the men are the bad guys. And it's filling the young women with satanic ideas, kind of indoctrinating them, changing their mind, getting their mind aligned with satanic beliefs, steering the mind away from Christian beliefs, and so that they can create this army. It's a radical, feminist, communist, Christian-hating army. And your children, if you have children, your children are being indoctrinated with these messages across the board right now, especially through the pop industry, on Netflix. HBO is the worst. HBO is a pure propaganda channel. So I suggest you switch off HBO. And watch out for Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, because he is the man to lead this army. If you watch his Instagram videos, you can see that the subtle messages. He's getting people to love him. He's got his show about his childhood. He's got his show on national television now, so people can love him even more. The idea is to get everyone loving him, and so he's got this show out about his early years, what it was like growing up. So he's got this series called The Young Rock, I think it is, just so he can get more and more people to love him and worship him, because he will be worshipped, and there'll be people ready to do whatever he says. And his agenda is anti-Christian through and through, and his army are being formed right now, just like Hitler formed his army in the 1930s in Germany. Well, the Antichrist army is being formed now via the media, and The Rock is their leader. Now, you don't have to believe me, but I've been studying this for a very long time, and I can assure you, I know that I'm correct on this, because I've been trawling through and researching for a long time, And this is the agenda. This is why there's so much Satanism in the pop industry. And this is why you're getting all these anti-Christian messages in programs, in so many TV programs. Another one is Raised by Wolves, again on HBO. There's no shortage of them. And that's because a war. They want a Satanist versus Christian war. Of course, the Christians won't fight. The Christians will adhere to peace, but the Satanists will do their best to destroy the Christian religion, because this is the time, this is the end time, this is the time of the final battle, when this satanic agenda raises its head and tries finally to destroy Christianity. It will fail, and there is no reason to fear. If you're a Christian, there is no reason to fear whatsoever, because God will protect his people. But be aware, don't fall for the agenda. Don't fall for the rock. He will lead, even Christians, he will lead them astray. He will lead them astray into this pseudo kind of fake, empty religion, where he even talks about God. He even talks about God and how he loves God. But it'll be an act, it'll be full of lies, and it will be a path away from true salvation. So thank you for watching this video. I hope you've enjoyed it. And please look at all the videos linked in the description of this video. I've put several videos which will show you all the evidence proving to you that the rock is the Antichrist, and how Satanism is being sold to our children across the board, and some videos about the United Nations and how they are a Luciferian organization with a Luciferian agenda across the world.